Okay, so you asked me the question about time management in IELTS reading. Just remember, in IELTS reading, if you do smart work, okay, I will not even use the word smart work. If you work precisely, that you have a plan, right? Today, one of my students came here. He was my student of this class. He said, sir, I was doing reading very systematically. And that's what I like. Now, what is that systematically? Systematically means when you see the question type is true, false, not given. You know already in true, false, not given, questions and passage will be in the same order. You know already in true, false, not given, when you find the answer of first question, you read on and you will find the answers to other questions. You know already from the question, I have to focus the words they have written and I need to find a clue word. And you know already to scan the clue word in the passage. So this is what we call systematic reading. And if you are not doing it systematically, like for example, you read the question but you don't understand the question, you go to the passage, again try to find the answer, then again come back to the question, then again go to the passage. So, and then at the end, out of frustration, you do the same thing, allar ballar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, true, false, not given, true, false, not given, true, false, not given, true. All right, my sixth sense is saying this is true, right? And then you're playing a game. After two truths, there must be a false. Let's do this false. And at the end you say not given, to maine koi kiya hi nahi, ho hai. Now the last one should be not given. So that is like the haphazard manner of doing reading. If you do IELTS reading systematically means you know the type of question you are doing, you know how to deal with that type of question, and you have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you will move around here and there like a lost cow. In Punjabi we say, gawachi gaan, 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 here and there, right? And then you, at the end you say, passage is too long, I'm too small, what should I do, and all that. So you should have a plan. There are around 9 type of questions in IELTS reading. For each type of question, number one, you should be familiar. You should know, if I get that type of questions, should I start with this question type or should I do this question type at the end of the passage? At the end in that. For example, they give you 3 question types like passage 1, questions 1 to 14. First 4 questions can be true, false, not given. Next 4 questions can be short answer question, and next 3 questions or 4 questions or 5 questions, they can be which paragraph contains the following. So you should have a plan from which question type should I start. There are, like, you know, you are making food in the kitchen and you've invited some guests. You've got to cook rice, you've got to cook at least 2 dishes, you've got to make sweet dish. So have you noticed sometimes the ladies, they make sweet dish first and put it in the refrigerator. And then they start with other things and finally they know that rotiyan end pe pakani. So in the same way, you should know, don't follow the arrangement which is given in the exam. It's not necessary that if questions 1 to 5 are which paragraph contains the following, so you should start from there. You can start even from true, false, not given. Always start with sentence completion. Because for sentence completion, you just need a word or a couple of words from the passage, so you can start with that. After sentence completion, you can move on to true, false, not given, yes, no, not given. And if you are doing list of headings, it's a very good idea to read other questions also. Because when you do list of headings, for example, if on your menu, you've got 10 items to purchase from a department store or a superstore, 10 items you have to purchase. Now, if 10 items are there in your mind, as you take a round of the superstore, you will buy all of them. If 1 item or 2 items are not missed, then you have to take the second round. My point is, when you do list of headings, for list of headings, you have to go through all the passage. So if you read other questions also, other questions, for example, list of headings, 6 questions. Then we have yes, no, not given, and then we have summary completion. So if you read yes, no, not given, summary completion, then at least you can locate where the answers to those questions are. Like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. We should not kill the birds. Birds are nice, beautiful. Anyways, so you should make a plan Whenever you do reading, don't just do it blindly, like, okay, I can start with any type of questions. You should have proper plan, proper formula, and you must follow the instructions. In actual IELTS reading, you see, first of all, they give you question number. Then they tell you the question type. First question number, then question type, then they give you instructions. One word only, no more than 2 words. So you need to follow all that and then make your own plan to deal with the questions. You'll be fine with that. This is how you can manage your time. Yes, please, more questions.
Sir, how can we increase a proper understanding of reading?
Good. How can we increase proper understanding of reading? This is a slow and laborious job. Laborious means you need to do a lot of effort. Slow means this thing will develop over time. Now, for example, if there is a passage, you can select any passage from any IELTS book, or you can select a passage from a magazine or so. Now, what you need to do first, read a paragraph, right? And when you read the paragraph, you need to involve your mind, your fantasy, your imagination, your concentration there. Now, for example, if I'm reading a passage, but mentally I'm somewhere else, mentally I'm thinking about something else, I'm paying attention to some other thing, I will not be able to understand. So, in order to understand that, whatever you read, you need to make some mental images of that. This is how your brain understands the language. Let me do one experiment with you. Just look at me. I ask you a question, okay? And you need to see what experience do you go through to answer this question. The experience you go through, and then you will understand the working of your brain, right? So the question is, what is the color of the main gate of your house? What is the color of the main gate of your house? Yeah.
Brown. Black. Green.
All right.
Black.
Black. Brown.
White.
Okay. All right. ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਦਰਵਾਜ਼ਾ ਲਗਵਾਇਆ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਰਦਾ ਲੱਗ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ just joking, because we were all very serious. Okay. Yeah, the parda was also, like in the old times, you used to have the parda. Doors were always open and there used to be parda. Now, when I asked you the color, immediately your brain made some images. And those images actually helped you give me the answer. In the same way, if I ask you another question, what did you eat for breakfast this morning? You'll just think, oh, yeah, paratha. Or you'll say omelette, or whatever you ate. So your brain actually recalls things through images, and then those images or those pictorial things turn into words and all that. In the same way, whatever you, now for example, you are reading an article about whale. In IELTS reading, you are reading an article about whale. So you need to think about whale, right? I mean, you can just see, okay, how whales, you might have seen any program on National Geographic. So you can use that imagination, whale and all that. Now this is not good. You're reading an article about whale and you're thinking about fried machi, which is cooked at home. You will eat that afterwards. So then you will not be able to understand. If, for example, marine life, immediately imagine, yes, I once watched a documentary on National Geographic. There they talked about marine life. So, I mean, one of my students, she gave me this thing. She said, sir, you have to dive deeper into the passage in order to understand. So that dive deeper means whatever you read, create images, imagine everything, and then your brain will automatically restore the information. You need retention of very short amount of words, sentences while doing reading test. So if you imagine, you can do that. Now again, coming back to the question, read a paragraph like this, read a paragraph. Once you've read it, look up. And now discuss it with yourself. Okay, in this paragraph, first of all, I learned this. Then they discussed this thing, then they discussed that thing. So once you do that, you can see how much you remember. I still remember when I was at school, suddenly they changed the syllabus from Urdu medium to English medium. We used to study mathematics in Urdu, and then they changed it into English. And me and some of my friends, we used to read mathematics questions like, if A has this thing, then B is equal to this. So what will be the answer of C or something like that? And after reading each question, we used to ask each other, कहंदा की है? कहंदा की है? कह रहा है जी अगर A में ये हो तो B में ये होगा. Because you know, we don't understand unless we interpret. And our interpretations are always in our native language. In order to do IELTS, you need to come out of it. I mean, if you read the question, first you translate the question, then you read the passage and you translate the passage, then you need at least 1 day to do one IELTS test. So you need to develop your understanding of English reading comprehension in English into English. Now, for example, if I say, I ask you a question, what's your name? You don't even think and you answer. Why? Because you have answered this question several times. If I say, how are you? You never translate that. You immediately answer. So all you need to do, you need to develop this skill of understanding the language into the same language. For example, if I say, imagine a beautiful black cat. Just imagine a beautiful black cat flying in the air. Come on, imagine. You can do anything, yeah? Right? So you can do it. And you are imagining it all in English. English into English. So in order to do well, you should, whatever you read at the first time, same time, you should be able to understand that into English. Right? Yes, please. Any other question? Yeah, looking here and there. Tu puch.
Sir, in writing module, task number 2, we have how many examples are ideal for us?
Examples that you give in the essay?
Yeah, in the essay.
Okay, all right. So the question, you also get your questions ready. You should ask a question, otherwise why have you come here, huh? Yeah. The question is, in IELTS writing, how many examples should be given? The thing is, examples are usually given in body paragraphs. So in order to answer your question, I would say this. First thing is, you should know the layout of the body paragraph. What is the layout of that body paragraph? Then you can understand how many examples and all that. The first thing is, you start your body paragraph with the main idea, or you start it with your argument. Regardless of the fact whether you are writing opinion essay, discussion essay, problem solution essay. If it is problem solution essay, you start your first body paragraph with cause number 1. Now, whenever it comes to giving example, never give a personal example. That's what sometimes my little brother or my cousin or my neighbor, anything like that. You should not give any personal, because you know you're writing a formal document. Essay is a formal document. So if you give personal examples, it will not be formal, number 1. Number 2, do not give any cultural, very much, I would not use the word cultural, but a sort of jargon. Jargon is something which only you understand. Others do not understand. Your IELTS writing will be marked by native speakers or non-native speakers from any country. For example, this is something inside story. One of the invigilators told me, this is your IELTS writing answer sheet. Okay, they will take it, they will put it under the scanner. From scanner, it will go to the portal, IELTS portal. It is there with your candidate number, with your name and all that. Now the examiner is sitting in Australia, who is marking your writing. Examiner is sitting in England, who is marking. And in England, the examiners can be like Indian examiner, Pakistani examiner, Sri Lankan examiner, native examiner, anyone from Africa, from any country. So that is why you need to write your essay for global audience, number 1. Number 2, when you quote the examples, try to quote some examples which are general, not personal. General examples. Now, how many examples? There isn't any marking criteria that says you should write 1 or 2 examples. Why do we give example? To support our argument. So, if you can support your argument by giving detail, then you don't need example. Right? So, what I mean here, even without writing example, if you give good supporting detail to your argument, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to give example, then in one paragraph you can give one example, and that example must be relevant that example should be understood by anyone from any country. It should not be anything like that. So one example in one body paragraph, second body paragraph, you can elaborate your point by giving some detail. That is fine. Okay? Yeah, all right. Yes, please. Anyone else with a question?
Sir, I have one problem in whenever I give reason in agree or disagree paragraph. Over there we are mentioning some reason as a topic sentence. However, when we are using another topic such as discuss both views and the problem solution, over there will we write reasons or problems or solution as a topic sentence?
Okay, what I understood from your question, it's that according to the essay type, argument should be reason or what? Okay, let me explain this thing. If you are writing an opinion essay, for example, in your opinion essay, all you need to do, you need to give argument to support your opinion. In opinion essay, either you agree or you disagree. Now, if you agree, why do you agree? Those are the reasons for your agreement. If you disagree, why you disagree? Those are the reasons for disagreement. So we call this thing as supporting arguments, right? If you're writing advantages, disadvantages essay, simply you will write 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages. If you're writing problem solution essay, you will write the cause and solution. Cause and solution. They will give you a problem as body paragraph. In body paragraph, you will write.
In body paragraph, could I mention one advantage as a topic sentence?
Yes, it is going. If it is advantages, disadvantages essay, so advantage is the topic sentence. Okay. If it is problem solution essay, yes, cause number 1 is the topic sentence of the paragraph, okay, or we call it main idea.
Okay. And on the other side, when we are talking about reasons,
yeah.
So agree or disagree.
Agree, disagree, we call it supporting detail. If you agree, we use the word arguments. If you agree, what are your arguments? If you disagree, what are your arguments? So you will write those arguments. And those arguments should be convincing. Those arguments should be logical. And those arguments should support your stance on the topic. And your stance is, I agree or I disagree.
Could I put over there a reason as a topic sentence?
No, why reason? You need to just come up with argument. Now, for example, you are giving the wrong notion to the examiner. They give you opinion essay and you say cause number 1 is this. So that means that is problem solution essay. It means you misunderstood the topic. Right? Yes. Okay, anyone else please with a question?
In academic arts, how we write the graph writing?
Okay, now
Different types of graph.
good, very good. Very good. The question is in academic IELTS how to write report, because there are different types of graphic, and how to write report easily. Well, that's a good question. Listen up. The first thing is you should be aware that there are 4 types on which you have to write the report. So you should be aware of this thing. Many students don't even know that, right? So you should know there are 4 types, and there can be any one of those 4 types. There will never be 2 types, only 1 type out of 4. Like we have essay writing, 4, 5 types, okay? So in that, the first 2 types are most important. Most of the time, even today, when they conducted this IELTS test here, today they gave a comparative graph, right? So graphs are more important. There are 2 types of graphs. One is graph with a trend. Second is comparative graph. Comparative graph is for comparison. Graph with a trend is for fluctuation. Data is moving, going up, coming down, and all that. So these 2 first. After this, we've got the third one, that is process diagram. Any process, how sugar is made, recycling process, how rainwater is purified. There can be any process. And the 4th one is maps. So these are the 4 types. You can work on them one by one. And then first thing is, in exam when you get the topic for report writing, you must be clear that okay, this is a comparative graph. Why comparative graph? Because they have only given 1 year. Second, this is a graph with a trend because they have given time period from 2010 to 2020. And then you say, okay, this is the process diagram, right? You can understand. And finally, map. So you should be able to understand. And then there is a plan. Now, what's the plan? Introduction, overview, body paragraphs. We don't write conclusion. Remember, in report writing, you don't need to write conclusion. Your overview is actually your conclusion. So introduction, overview, and 2 body paragraphs. But still, you need to do a lot of practice. For that, I refer some books also. You can just do that, right? It's a good question. Yes, please.
Please do something about understanding of topic related to speaking.
Okay, in IELTS speaking, how to understand the topic, or let's make it simpler, how to understand the question. The next question is going to come from that table, right? Otherwise, आप लोग चले जाएं, फिर घर चले जाएं. हाँ, लैंड किया आए हो. You should ask any question. Say, नहीं sir, आपने पहले खुद ही सारा बता दिया. What should we ask and all that? Make a question for me, right? Okay, coming back to your question.
Speaking question.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I had forgotten it, but now suddenly I got your question back. How to understand the question? Remember, in part 1, you will never have understanding problem. Because in part 1, the questions are in one simple sentence. Only one sentence question. Now, what is one sentence question? What's your name? What's your favorite color? Where do you come from? How often do you go out? What's your favorite leisure activity? One sentence question. In part 1, they will never ask you a long question where it is difficult to understand what the question is. So in part 1, there is never an issue of understanding if you focus. Yes, it's a good idea for IELTS speaking for part 1, part 2, part 3. There is something very, very important. We call it WH questions. Now, what are WH questions? When, why, where, how. And then after that, you need to move on. How often? How long? How often means frequency. How long means duration, right? So you should understand these words. Now, when they ask you a question using any of these words, if they ask you a question with why, you know the answer is going to be reason. If they ask you a question with when, you know the answer is a time. When, morning, evening, night. If they ask you a question with where, you know the answer should be a location. Understand? So if the question is with how often means how many times. If the question is how long have you been, that means present perfect continuous. So you know how to answer. And if they ask you question, how long have you been learning English? And commonly students answer this question in present continuous, which is wrong. I mean, how long have you been learning English? I'm learning English for 5 years. Wrong. I have been learning English for 5 years. How long have you been living in this city? For example, I have been living in this city for, and then this is going to be the time thing, right? So if you understand when, why, where, who, and all that, you can understand the question. One thing. Second thing is in part 2, cue card, topic is in front of you. Right? There is no problem of understanding. Topic is there, pen and paper they give you, that is there, right? So all you need to do, you can take a look and you can prepare your answers. Now we come to part 3. In part 3,